nothing. But if we're giving them some gold, if they still haven't liked us, then yeah, you can complain.
There's worse things in the world than to worry about. If people don't want to give us a like or a heart,
that is the world we live in, mate. That is the
it's
world
water off my shoulders, mate. It is water off my shoulders. Nick Pap's in the house. He always puts a smile on my face. That's payment enough for me. Guys, you're not live on YouTube. Yes, we are, sweetheart. Yes, we are. And I just called you sweetheart. Apologies for that, Paps.
Yeah. I don't know who you were thinking about when you called him sweetheart.
It was me who tuned into yesterday's show thinking it was the live crypto show. Still have no idea who you are. Daniil's in the house. Good to have you with us, Daniil. Right, okay. And Kev's here as well. Good to have you with us, Kev, with his updated cool car photo.
Nice pick.
Exactly. Nice pick indeed. So let's cut straight to the chase. What the heck has been going on for those people that don't have access to our private group? They haven't had your reassurance. They don't really know what's going on. My account was looking very handsome towards the tail end of last week, and then suddenly it gets slapped with a wet cabbage leaf, and it's like, wow, what's going on? And I'm back to where I was. I'm not down, but I wasn't sitting pretty with the pretty profits that my portfolio was looking like it was going to yield last week. So tell us, Mr. Demi, from your point of view as a professional trader / investor, what the heck has been going on in crypto world this week?
Yeah, I mean, look, the one thing that crypto does is it, even however well prepared you are, no matter what you expect, when it's actually happening, it always kind of feels like a surprise, right? So, the reality, look, we were speaking about the pullback. We were thinking, okay, the market, the level identified the previous week worked perfectly. Bounced, it went up at 53,275, and the guys that took it made some nice profit. We said take half off because this may not be done. There's resistance there. We need to break that diagonal line, which it didn't break. And so then it's come back down again. Now, what we identified was 48.5 to 50,000 would be a great second buy zone. Now, obviously, as you saw, for those who've been following Bitcoin, it went much lower. It went to 42K. But what was interesting about it was that it ended up closing above 48.5. So that I thought was quite interesting, and definitely something you can have a conversation about, because was that just kind of stop gunning? Like, was that just to kind of like take out some liquidity, and potentially, but the close, guys, is the most important. So yes, here's the thing that happened. The market, it fell very, very fast. It went to 42K, and a lot of liquidations happened, right? So a lot of people that were on high margin got liquidated. So they got burned. The reality is that if you didn't have high margin, high leverage, you'd be absolutely fine. So if you had bought where we suggested 48.5 to 50,000, right now, you'd be in profit, right? So, the reality is like, yes, if you're holding long-term holdings portfolio, that's going to happen. That's going to happen. Like, there's going to be big moves up and big drops. You've got to have a plan. Like, you've got to have a plan that you're happy about. But nothing really unusual has happened. This happens all the time with this asset, and it's something you have to get used to. The thing is, the people that come into this space, guys, you're kind of looking for money, for big money, right? That's why you're doing cryptos, and you're not doing, your average stocks or whatever else, or bonds or whatever. But with great returns also comes great volatility. And when it's a new asset class, right, that happens, right? That's what happens. So like because it's a new asset class, it's it's going to be volatile. There's no way around it. And so if you want to be able to make those big gains, you have to be able to stomach that kind of volatility.
Yes.
And that's really all there is to it. And it really comes down to, if you are not making money and you're losing money over the long term, it's really simple. Like, you're being too greedy, too fearful, and you're not following a set plan. Because how can you lose money? Let's say you invested in Bitcoin. How can you lose money? Like, it's gone from practically $100 10 years ago, or even less, $5-10, to, you know, whatever it is now, 52,000, 51,000, as high as 70,000. How? I mean, like, if you said to someone, well, I've been in Bitcoin, I've been buying Bitcoin, but I'm losing money. How could it be? It can only be because you're over leveraging yourself and you're getting liquidated. So it's really simple. Like, stop doing it. Like, use sensible margin. It's really not that difficult. Use sensible margin, and, you know, have that grow, and then you can trade. Like, you can trade. For those that want to trade and take advantage of the volatility. That's what it's there for. That's you know, and for those that have the time, that's what I would be doing. That's what I do. That's what I spend my time on. Like, if I trade the markets, I build up my account, I put it into spot, and I don't care about the volatility, because it's just, yeah, I'm not going to say I don't care. Nobody really wants to see their portfolio halved overnight, but I know that there's a long-term gain. And you know, and I think I said this to one of my students maybe a few weeks ago, like, realistically, what difference does it make? You weren't ever planning to sell it right now anyway, right? So it's not like, oh, you were about to sell it and realize your gains and go to Las Vegas for a nice holiday. You were, you know, probably looking at the long-term picture, thinking, right, these are probably going to be 5, 10, 15, 20x higher in the future, and you're just going to leave them alone. So whether they're halved now or lost 20, 30%, you weren't going to sell it anyway. So what difference does it really make? It's just a number on your screen. So you just got to not let it affect you. But yeah, this is the game, isn't it, Gav? Like, this is the game.
It really is the game, and it gets easier. And then you just, I guess the only frustration is when prices come down to a really good price, and you're like, damn, I need some more cash to get them. I need to scoop up some more. That's the frustrating thing now. I'm not bothered about, because every retracement, then you see an increase, and it's like, okay, we're just walking up the stairs. Maybe we might go down. We might go down a couple of steps before we're going back up again. But I know the direction that we're going in. Yeah, it's just that, I wish I had some more money to scoop some more up.
My general recommendation on that is keep 10% of your portfolio into a trading account. That's what I would suggest to people. So, you know, if you've invested, I don't know, 20 grand, for example, I'd rather you invest 18 and keep 2 in a trading account if you're confident that you can grow it. Because, for example, right now, like you're saying, Gavin, like, prices are cheaper, and you're like, oh, wow, I wish I could pick up Atom at $25. I wish I could pick up this, whatever. But here's the thing, you can go into your futures account, and you could look for a buying opportunity, and then ride that money up. And then when you think it's reached resistance, close it, take that profit. And now you've got extra money that you can go and put into spot. Yes, you're paying a slightly higher price than what it was, but you've already taken advantage of that move up. So you've grown your 2K maybe into 4 or 5K. So now you take your 2-3K profit and you go put it into spot wherever you want. So that's the way to do it. I get your point. It's you still always wish you held off and, you know, didn't put all your eggs in, and you could just buy it cheaper now. But
I just wish I had more chickens.
Yeah, sell that TV, mate.
Doesn't even get used. It's not mine. Came with the place.
Sell it anyway. Just invest the money in Bitcoin, and then when it's due to give it back, you can buy another one.
Mate, that's a very valid point. I listened to a YouTube, well, it was a Spotify actually, and then it was on YouTube. Michael Saylor did a 2.5 hour mammoth interview, and he was breaking down, trying to get everybody to convert to Bitcoin. It was a really, really good interview, guys. I don't know if anybody else has listened to it or even seen it or even know who Michael Saylor is, but yeah, he's
the Big Short guy.
Is right?
He? Yeah. He's the one that's called The Big Short.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay. I only know him as Bitcoin guy. That's before my
time. He basically, he's a smart guy.
Super, super smart. He's about 2.6 billion balls deep into Bitcoin. But the rationales and the ratios that he was breaking down and just basically saying how Bitcoin is digital energy. It was really cool how everything is just flowing towards that. And just, why would you buy property now with all the headaches and the leverages and everything else that you've got on there, and the liens and everything? He just breaks everything down. And he was just like saying, like back in 2010, like you'd be mad not to invest in Google Maps and Facebook and Amazon and all of these things, because you could see where the general direction was going. And he's like, look, this is the same now with cryptocurrencies, except this is the best opportunity that anybody's had, at least over the last 100 years. And he just goes into so much detail. I had to put it on 1.25 speed because they talk a little bit slow for me. And I'm like, do you know what? That 25% on a 2-hour talk, that gives me like 45 minutes back of my life. So I
mean, I agree with, like, you know, Bitcoin is a great investment. I think we've said this before. It's I think for people that have got substantial amounts of wealth, that's where you'd put it. Like if you're just, you know, because it's going to outperform. It has outperformed all other asset classes over the last few years, and I think it will continue to do so for the next few years. So it makes a lot of sense. You know, if you've got 2, 3, 4 million that you want to put into something, you don't need to 100x. That's the thing. So you don't need to take those high risks. But for the
exactly. Do you know what? Sorry, mate, just to cut you off. So Snake Trader saying he's the guy from MicroStrategy. So that was his business. But then now his business is like, I think there's about 18 publicly listed companies that are just mining exclusively for Bitcoin now, but they're public listed companies. And over the last 10 years, Bitcoin has averaged 170% return. And he's like, why would I put my money into something else where I'm going to get maybe 2 to 5%? It just doesn't, make sense. And he was just breaking down all of these numbers. I won't spoil it for anybody that hasn't listened to it yet, but it was really interesting. Another thing I wanted to chat to you about is I was looking at these numbers. Apparently this weekend is like it's like Bitcoin sucking all the air out of the room. I don't know if you've seen this. 2.6 billion has come into Bitcoin. 3.6 billion has gone out. The net flow is 917.4 million. And like you said, a lot of that is derivatives and people just basically being over leveraged, which shows that now kind of spot is king, right? And where do you think the general direction is going to be going off numbers like that? It would be quite interesting to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think most of that is leverage position. In fact, you know, we've also got to factor in the the stock market right now as well into where we are, because I do think that all of it's going to kind of like, it's going to affect all markets. And you know, most of the time when we see Bitcoin fall the way it does, and it happens all the time, it is down to over leveraged positions. What we need to really see is what's actually happening underneath. Because the drivers of this market are the whales. You know, they're the ones with the power. I heard that's the thing. So I heard that somebody dumped a massive amount of Bitcoin in one go, coming from one account. how much was it? I can't remember. It was like it was multiple millions, all in one go. And what that does is then it creates, and I'm not sure why that happened, but that then creates that. Well, it could be also just for them to pick it up cheaper because they know it's going to liquidate people. So that creates all that triggers everybody's leverage position, and then the markets, tank. And obviously those guys, because if you're trading in millions, the reality is it's going to make a big difference if you can buy Bitcoin for 10, 20 grand cheaper.
Is it really, though, with a market cap of $1 trillion, is it really going to make a difference? Like, one thing I'd really love to get your perspective on, if you were working at a hedge fund now and they said, right, Andy, we're going to let you manage this account just for Bitcoin. We want you to do your dark demi tricks like you did in the hedge fund days on FX. How would you play this? How would you try and get people out of the market so that you guys can make more money? I guess that's an interesting perspective to have a look at and just explore if there's anything off the top of your head there.
When you identify like key zones, there's a reason why we spoke about 50K. Most people could identify that as a zone, and we know it's played a big part coming up to 50K. We spoke about it when we were underneath, and then when we were above it, we were speaking about it the last couple of weeks. So most people will recognize the importance and significance of that level. So that's what you're trying to identify. So if you want to do a bit of manipulation, you have to have a big fund. Firstly, you can't do it on small amounts, and that's where the stops are going to be. So like that's why it's triggered such a big move down, because it went to 42K so quickly. And I think it was similar in what was the last? I think it was in May. I think it was similar when we saw a big drop really fast. It looked exactly the same, and it just shows you it's the same play. And so, once you kind of trigger that sort of 50, 49K, 48K, then it just goes really, really fast, and there's no liquidity. There's no buyers coming in. And so you could pick it up at the next level down, which is 42K. I don't think necessarily that I would be doing that, but yeah, that's the kind of play that people do take, because they know that there's a lot of retail get-rich-quick people in crypto space, which you don't really get so much with FX. Not anymore anyway, but certainly in cryptos, everybody's jumping in because they, that's why you've got, Shiba Inu like in the top, whatever, 10, 15 market cap, because it's a bit of a joke, right? Like people just buying stuff that they don't have any clue about what it does or any research. And, and I think that tells you a lot about the crowd, and the crowd is very easy to manipulate, very easy to kind of take out the game. So, for a lot of people, I notice it sometimes even in our groups, like when things are going well, people are active and excited. And then when you get something like that, people just kind of shut down. And I'm like, guys, this is not the time to be shutting down. In our Discord group, I'm telling them this is the time to really perk up, do what everyone else is not doing. Let other people panic. We're going to be taking advantage of these moves. Let other people worry and struggle. We're going to be taking advantage of these moves. And that's how you have to be. You have to be tough and resilient and think differently. Otherwise, you don't survive. You don't survive in this market. And eventually, you have a market that is, how criminal would it be, right? If you look back in 2-3 years' time and you haven't made a substantial amount of wealth from cryptos, knowing about it now, the guys that are here with us now, it would be criminal. Like, honestly, it's just, this is the opportunity for you to change your life, to set yourself up. But that you can't think, yes, cryptos move fast, right? But you've still got to have a window. You've still got to say, look, this is a 2 to 4 year plan. There's I don't know if people know about the halving, but every 4 years we have a halving in Bitcoin. And if you look at every 4 year window, it's always gone up substantially. So if you have a 4-year window and invest in Bitcoin, almost certainly if history repeats, your account is going to be way out higher than what it is today. It's just simple maths.
Yeah, and we're not even then talking about all the ninja staking and high investments to really double whammy, and then a few other little ninja tricks like we've been talking about, where you can pull money out without tax costs and stuff like that. It's there's a real trifecta effect, I guess, and as more coins become more mainstream, I only think that's going to get bigger, which is another really interesting fact. So look, guys, the Discord group are in really good hands with Mr. Demi. One thing I would say, and you've done this, but just talk very quickly about this, because you can make a lot of money, but if you're not psychologically prepared, or if you don't have a feeling of worth of that money, and you make more money than you're worth, guess what's going to happen to that money that you make?
You find a way to lose it.
100%. And that's one of the things that someone pointed out to me that I've been working on a lot over the last few months. Really making that space, finding the parts of me that don't feel like worthy of the big amounts that I'm going for, and then really kind of accepting and releasing that. So do you just want to talk a little bit about that? Because we don't really talk about it on the crypto show, and I think it's a really valid thing. Guys, you really need to work on this. And obviously Andy's a classic case study of someone who started off from fairly humble beginnings, has grown massive amounts of accounts, big sizes, traded with massive amounts. Just talk about how that could catch some of our guys out in cryptos, because I think that's going to be part of the battle as well. Once you've got that, instead of being rich, try and have a wealthy mindset.
Yeah, it's very, very true. And like sometimes it's really hard, because if you're not quite as successful as you think you should be, theoretically, right? So with the knowledge that you have, with the information that you have, with maybe some of the picks that you have chosen in the past, and some of the actions that you've taken, if you think you should be further ahead, then that definitely could be playing a part. Where, because building wealth, whatever the means, I guess, like whether it's through whatever the vehicle, whether it's cryptos or something else, is about also expanding your mindset. Because if you don't grow, then it doesn't matter what knowledge you have, the actions that you take with that knowledge are not going to be the correct ones. And somehow you'll always stay where you are until you do expand. And the number one way that I've found that I expand is by surrounding myself with people that are playing the game at a higher level than me, because that opens my mindset up to what is possible. And it's something that I strive to do. That's why my mentors become more and more expensive over time, because the more money they have, the more their time is worth. So I have to spend more money to spend time with them. And obviously, as you grow and you build yourself up, and you get to a different stage, you naturally build those friendships up anyway. But I always believed in identifying people that can help you, that can dedicate their time to you. Now, for a lot of people, that's not going to be possible, right? They're not going to be able to afford that. So the next best way to do it is to listen to people that are playing the game at a high level, whether that's through podcasts, whether that's through shows like this, whether that's through YouTube. Networking is a little bit harder now, especially with like the way the world is, like everything's kind of done online. But for me, it's a really important part. Like, you want to be talking with people that are basically striving for big things or are already there. And ideally, you want to build friendships with those people. And social media is great and really powerful for that. And I think that will make a big, big difference. If you don't do that, the likelihood is that somehow, no matter what's gone on in the markets, like I said, Bitcoin's gone, let's say Bitcoin's now 50,000. And we're talking now, and I say to you guys, okay, I think in the next 4 or 5 years, Bitcoin will be at 500,000 minimum. And that happens. And you're here with us, but you don't make a single penny from that move. well, why not? What do you think has happened? And maybe you'll rationalize it. It could be, oh, I lost my job and I didn't have any money to invest. Or it could be, I've been scammed and I know this is a scam. I'm not sure. I can't afford to lose any money. There will be some logical explanation. And that's what we do as human beings. We have to rationalize results. So the reality is that probably those things will be true as what's happened, but that's not why you haven't made the money. It's because of the mindset. I was saying offline to Gavin, sometimes people say, I can't afford to do that, or I don't have the time for it, or I'm way too inexperienced, or whatever it is. You kind of come up with some rationalization. And I just think like a big part of that rationalization is mindset. Take somebody successful. I don't know. Who's the most successful? George Soros, Warren Buffett, right? Take those guys.
Not lizard boy George Soros. Come on. The cracks are starting to come out around old lizard boy,
right.
mate. But
don't
I see what
worry
you're
about
saying.
that. The point is, you take people that are making a lot of money. You put them in a situation where maybe you are today, and they have the same opportunities as you and the same excuses available to them as well. I guess the question you should ask yourself is, how will they react? Are they going to say, well, I can't afford it, I don't know how to do it, I don't have the time? Or are they going to be resourceful? Are they going to find a way? That's what you need to be. And then all of those things will fall into place, because suddenly, I just don't. I don't make for me. It's like there's no excuses. If you want to do something, you do it. So if you want to make a lot of money from cryptos, I can tell you that doesn't matter what your situation is right now. And I'd say for every situation that I can think of, if you have the right mindset, you will get there. And if you don't, and you're not open to expanding, you won't. Even people that have got a lot of money right now to invest, they probably won't succeed at the level that they want to if their mindset isn't with it.
Yeah, exactly that, mate. And I think a really visual representation of what you just said. What's that TV show that you recommended? I loved it. I don't often say that about TV shows that you talk about, but I watched this one and it was really good. It was the American guy, and he has to start a business with like $100 or $200.
Yeah. Grant Card, the billion.
The first one, The Secret Billionaire. Was it Secret Billionaire?
Yeah.
The first series. I never watched the second. I watched a couple of episodes. I might watch the second season.
Second series is better. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? It doesn't. I didn't get that feeling from the first few. It just felt really.
No, I liked it more.
Wow. Okay, I might have to give that a chance when I get a bit of time. But that is amazing. Like that is personified.
That's a perfect example of that.
What you're saying, right? The guy has got no money. He doesn't even have a place to stay. He stays in his van, and he's just got that mindset. He has that belief that he's gonna do it. It's like if we've got nothing, right? We know that we're going to keep enough change in our pocket to get some food. We know with conviction that we're going to eat something. But he's got that conviction that he can build a $1 million business in 3 months. That was the challenge, right? His
the valuation of the business has to be $1 million for him to complete his challenge, and he's got to start with $100 and nothing else, no accommodation, just a van, and then his mindset. That's it. So then you've got to go. He convinces. So Grant Cardone, convinces somebody who's selling like trailers. Somehow convinces him that he can stay there for free for a few days, gets himself on his feet, but again, it's like so many people wouldn't take that on, right? Because they think, how on earth is that going to be possible? But again, because they know it can be done in their minds, they make it happen. And that's why, like, you have to combine good skill, a good vehicle, like opportunity, with the right mindset, and then you can make the right calls.
But it wasn't that, like, he didn't know how he was going to do it. He just had that. He's cleared the space in his mind and in his body that he's worth more. He knows that he's going to do it somehow. He knows his brain will come up with a solution. And this is, I guess, so many of us are in our logical brains. There's so much energy and stuff going on now. Our brains, literally, we're losing our minds, whether people know it or not. And when you try and apply logic to these things, it's not going to happen. And like Andy's saying, if you just step into faith, like not religious faith, but faith, and keep taking action, and you will find a way if you give your brain the space. But like Andy said, and like what I'm saying, what I'm doing, clear that space, guys, because for the ones of you that do make money, you go from a 5-figure account to a 6-figure account, 6-figure account to a 7-figure account. If you're not prepared for that, bang, away it goes. But look, we digress. Let's jump into the live charts. Hopefully you guys have got some value from that. I've enjoyed speaking with you about that, mate. So it's been good. Yeah, Roy's saying it's the undercover billionaire. That's the one.
Is it? There you go.
Yeah. Someone saying, hey, you talk about me. I'm not sure which bit. Great advice. You are a product of your surroundings. Andy will be my new best friend, please. Well, it starts by letting us know your name. That would be one bit. And Slav is saying very wise words indeed. So look, guys, yeah, just start making the space, clearing the space, and taking action. And those two things together are very, very powerful. So with that being said, let's do I have to say, Andy, like the time that you give up on here to do this in-depth chart, like you've done it week in, week out, you're a busy guy. And you're spot on, like literally you're spot on 95% of the time during this. So guys, like pay attention, rewatch it. If you're not sure about things, just you can do this. And I know many of you probably secretly don't believe that you can, which is why you're not taking action. And that's really sad that by society or by life, we've been beaten down. When we will be looking back on this in 3 years' time, some of us will be jumping for joy, going, I'm so glad I made the space and I took action. Some of us are going to be like, crap, why has that happened again? Where I didn't do anything and I'm in the same situation. So whichever camp you're going to be in, Mr. Demi, thank you for giving up your time to do this, because you are dropping knowledge bombs every week. And like, I think people take it for granted sometimes, the amount of information you give and how spot on it is. When I saw the charts and I saw that things were going to be getting dicey and there was a sea of red and it went to those spots that you were talking about, it's like that information, you know, we give that information away. You give that information away. And yeah, people should really kind of learn to dance with it and take some action on it. So with that being said, crypto like a pro, trade setup of the week. Well, actually, let's do the Bitcoin breakdown. Let's do that one instead.
Let's do Bitcoin, yeah. Thanks for that, mate.
Yeah, no, but that is genuine. So okay, cool. So Bitcoin price prediction. Let's hit that, mate.
Okay. Yeah. So guys, let's so I've cleaned out all my lines as you just saw so that we can start again. But I just want to kind of remind people of something that I mentioned last time, which was one of our first clues as to that the market could go lower. And it was actually evidence that I found over here. I don't know if you guys recall that we're on the show, but I was looking at this, and that's kind of what alerted me to think actually maybe this could go lower. So if you recall over here, what we had was a situation where the market was doing these kind of higher highs and higher lows, and then this was just like barely a higher high, and then the market went and took out this low here, and then created this lower high, and then we fell. So I was kind of talking about that scenario potentially being over here, and the first sign was really when we took out this low there. And so what we were saying is that now the market could do something similar. It could pull back somewhere and then potentially go lower, which is exactly what it's done. So with that being said, what you kind of want to look at now, there's a couple of different ways that we can identify when this market is ready to resume its uptrend. But that's something you should look out for. So keep an eye on these swings, okay? because that's really what's happening right now. The market is still making these lower lows and lower highs. And what we want to see is we want to see that change. There's a couple of things that we're going to do here to identify when that might happen. And then we'll come up with some levels and ideas that we can use. So let's start by looking at something here. So I want to look at the way that the market has been kind of reacting. So if you look back over here, you can see that this area here, this resistance line was acting as really nice resistance here. So this line here, and then the market eventually broke, and then the market went higher. So we're going to come back and potentially use that one. I'm also going to look at the upside here, and I can see there's a nice reactive line on the upside. So we're going to use that line, and we're going to put a support line there. Now, if you guys recall, the reason why I said, 48 to 50,000, there was a couple of things, but like one of those things was, really nice levels. So nice resistance, and then we also had this level here. So that's where I identified this block here to potentially be the low where we could start to look to buy. And if you have a look, what the market has done is it went lower, but actually ultimately, as I was saying before, it has held here. So that's a really good sign for Bitcoin. That's a good sign for the bulls. And I also love the way that this line is held as well, which is something that I identified later on. So that's a real positive. Now, does that mean we're out of the woods? Not necessarily, but we really do need this line to hold, but most importantly, we do need this level to hold here. So for me, that is an absolutely fundamental level here that we mustn't break. If we break this level, guys, then I must say that for the time being, we could be going much lower. Okay. My opinion is we're not going to break that level. Okay. That's what my opinion is. I think we will base out, and I think the market will eventually start to go higher. So here's what I'm thinking. First big target is 53K. Okay. That is look at firstly a couple of things. Past support. That's the most recent support area. That is what is going to be interesting for people to take profits on the long side, and also for people to short again. So what we might get is a push up to 53, and then we're going to be met with resistance. This is an area now that's going to become really important. So what we could get is possibly a pullback, and then the market to break and potentially start to make its way up. That is a very plausible scenario. The other way you could do it is we have a big push and we close above here. That then becomes a pullback area that we can look to buy. Again, 53K is the significant one. So I mentioned before, 50K was significant for a long time. Right now, in my opinion, I think we have 53K as a really, really important level. And then I think we have this area here, which is about 41.5 as a really, really important level. I want to stress, we don't want to see Bitcoin below that, because that would then concern me that we're going to go much lower. And then we're going to have to start planning for, how low we can go using our Fibonacci. But right now, in my opinion, we're still good. We're still good for the up move that we've been expecting. So we can kind of dive in a little bit deeper as to how you could take advantage of this. But for me, this area here, the bounce area, could represent your opportunity. Now, if we go to the lower time frames, we'll check that out. One thing that you can do also is you can use this line over here as a resistance point, and you should, because the most likelihood is that you're going to be met with some resistance. If you're quite conservative by nature and you don't want to kind of pick the low, what you could do is you could let the market do its thing and then only buy it if we break through this line. because this line is going to be significant and it could be the start of the move higher. So for those that like to play momentum strategies, you want to be on the right-hand side of this line, okay? Because the resistance at that point is going to be minimal. The control is going to be with the buyers, and I think we're going to make our way up towards 100K. Okay, so as we break that line, I think we'll make our way to 100K. For those that want value, I would be ideally saying to you guys, you're either going to want to pick it up here, okay, around that kind of 48 and 49, 48 and a half sort of zone, and then hope that it's going to do that. Okay, so higher reward, higher risk. Your stop should be, if you're going to put stops in, should be below these lows, because that for me is where the game ends. Like if you're going to catch a move up to maybe 100K or whatever, even higher, for me, we mustn't take this out. I want to kind of stress that point. So you could be risking maybe 12K to make potentially 50K. A nice sort of 3-4 to 1 swing trade. Let me go to the lower time frames. Hopefully this is making sense for people, but we'll go to the lower time frames and see what else we've got that it's showing us right now. So let me have a quick little look at the 4-hour time frame. This is by the way, these are the lines that I've been speaking. I mean, we've been speaking about these lines here for so long. It is incredible, like that they've still held even there, and I know I'm not gonna. I know people that bought here. Like, if you had been watching our shows, I've mentioned it so many times. You don't want to be buying unless we clearly break this line. And look how well it's held. I mean, that's a bit of a fake out there. But I've had this line drawn in since all of the shows, right, Gavin? I mean, if you go back and watch some of the shows, this has been here for over a month. And it just keeps holding and holding and holding. A little bit of a fake out there. And look how it comes back in and hits it again. So, you know, if you do go long and you buy it at that sort of, I don't know, wherever, 48 and a half, 49K, you've still got to remember, we're not out of the woods until this line is cleared. So that's quite an easy line to draw. If you go to your 4-hour chart, you just connect these points here and just do it exactly as I've drawn there. If you get a close above that, you've got to say now it's looking pretty nice. But from a trading point of view, you've got to clear 53. And then once you've cleared 53, you've got to kind of clear this level here. So there's lots of great opportunities for trading. For investing, it could be quite a ride. So let's have a little look to see where we are within the fib cycles right now. So if you have a look over here, we have an A, we have a B. The market has pulled back pretty much to its 38.2 there. Okay, just shy of that. Let me actually put that to the low exactly. So yeah, that's pretty much the 38.2. We're at the 1272 there, which is a little bit of a resistance point. But what's quite interesting is that I had a line here as well. And if I just extend this, let me see how that's quite interesting, right? So it's broken that. I've only just seen that now. Support was resistance. It's broken that. And if we probably add in volume, let's see if it kind of had any volume to it. Let's have a little look. So good volume there. Didn't do it with a huge amount of volume, I've got to say. But yeah, it'd be quite interesting to see if this market is going to potentially pull back into this line. So what you can do, guys, if you want to pick Bitcoin up, you could stick an alert on this line. So like you just right click on the line, add alert, and just say something like potential buy point buy line. And so once it hits that line, you're kind of coming into that zone that we said anyway, 49, 48 and a half. And then I think we have that kind of potential, this is the 1618, so and this is the overextension. I've got to say, normally the market will go to the overextension in a reversal. So I'd expect that we're going to go and hit this level, which is 57,230. And this can happen quite fast. Now, here's what would normally happen if you weren't watching this. People would get FOMO and they'd start jumping in here. Worst time to get in. Absolute worst time to get in. If you're going to take Bitcoin, take it here. Don't let it start doing that before you're jumping in. Otherwise, wait for the break and then look for the pullback to get in. So I don't want to kind of spend any more time because I think I've said a lot, but that should hopefully give everybody some good insight, as to the areas where we think, okay, Bitcoin is bearish. I've already stated those, and where I think right now the next obvious move is, and then what we need to break to confirm the upside. So a rally to 56, 57. So a rally to 54.5 to 57.5 looks very probable. That doesn't mean we're out of the woods, just as a reference point.
Awesome work, Mr. Demi.
Okay, hopefully that's valuable, guys. Let me know. Let us know if you've got any comments or questions.
Yeah, let us know. We've still got a couple of minutes that we can stick around. Yanis is here. Hi, guys. Hi, Yanis. Good to have you with us. Paul Tyler Tyson, thank you for your kind words. Gav and Andy, couple of legends. We'll take that. We will take that. And Facebook user, still mystery person. I'm the guy who's trying to get that mindset, and I will buy the course 100%. So there's still a deal to be had for the guys that took action and came on to do the free trial. Andy really wants to help. He's even given free access to the program. We won't talk about that too much, but they've got like another 12 hours to take action and get on that. And another comment, fantastic analysis again. Thank you, Andy. So good
Pleasure.
Stuff, mate. Good stuff.
I hope it helps you make some money, anonymous user.
Look, we don't have many tax men in the group. You don't have to be so mysterious. But yeah, it is what it is. We respect your privacy. No questions coming in, which is great. That means we've explained everything. Rewatch it again if you're confused and it doesn't make sense. Anything you want to say before we leave, mate?
No, nothing off the top of my head. I think you kind of said it before. Sometimes when you're kind of flooded with a lot of information, and it's very hard to really appreciate the level of detail that we give with these breakdowns, for free on this channel. This doesn't happen by chance. This is like my work for 18 years. Just because I'm doing crypto now, I'm not doing FX. So the idea is really is to help people take action. So it's great to learn, it's great to understand, but hopefully you can take this away, you can use it, and you can make some money with it. And that's my goal, that's my wish, and my purpose for doing these shows and giving up our time here. So I really do hope that people take action and they develop their own knowledge to do things better, to do things more professionally and consistently.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, as always, thank you all for being here and for your generous likes, loves, and smiley faces.
We got Wandaloo who's tuning in from Uganda. I mean, we've got people from all over the world.
Has Wandaloo left us a like?
I don't know. Maybe on YouTube. That would be good. That would be good to see. And we've also got Gordon W. Just stumbled across the channel. Very informative. Thank you very much for that, Gordon. We love people who just stumble into our little VIP room in the corner of YouTube. So thanks a lot for tuning in live on YouTube. Anthony James is just saying, one of the crypto guys I follow suggested that we need a bearish Bitcoin for the alt pump to come into play. What are your thoughts? Yeah. Interesting.
Well, I mean, there's an argument to say that, with all things being equal, with an equal amount of money in the markets, like sometimes you'll get Bitcoin money go into altcoin. So like maybe, that's why you kind of have altcoin season, you have, and Bitcoin season. Like the idea is like, yes, money can come out of Bitcoin, it can go into altcoins and obviously pump that up. You've got to remember also there's new money coming in. And a lot of the money going into Bitcoin is now institutional money, and there's kind of an endless stream of that. There's so much more scope for new money to come in. So I don't necessarily think we need a bearish Bitcoin, but it can sometimes be that one outperforms the other. So maybe Bitcoin goes sideways whilst the altcoins pump, and then the other way around. Once Bitcoin let's say Bitcoin rallies to 100K and altcoins are not as strong, that's the point where you might see exactly what you're saying. Maybe Bitcoin pulls back and some of that money goes into altcoins that are underperforming. So yeah, I mean, there's some truth to it, but I wouldn't say necessarily it needs to be bearish.
Cool. Well, with that being said, that wraps up this week's show. We'll be back next Monday talking all things FX, and back next Tuesday talking all things cryptos. If you're in our private group, the Crypto and FX Traders Club on Facebook, don't be a stranger. Post your questions, post your thoughts, post your trading ideas, which we've got a pretty good community that do that. Anybody that isn't a member, feel free to join our private group on Facebook, and we will give you immediate access. So have a great day, guys, and we will see you on the other side. Anything you want to say as a last hurrah, Mr. Demi?
No, I think we've said enough for the day.
I agree.
We will see you next week, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Perfect.
Take care, guys.